All right, so we are going to look right now at the test. We did a benchmark pretest Algebra 1 for 14.0, and this was factoring only. It looks like this. Okay, so we're going to start with number 1. Thank you, Gentry, for letting me use your test. The sum of x squared and 11x is negative 30. Now the first thing you got to do is figure out how do we write that equation. What does it look like? So what we're going to do is, okay, sum means we're going to add x squared and 11x, and that's going, is in math means equals negative 30. So that's exactly what that's going to look like when you put it in an equation. Which of the following could be the value of x? Well, if we want to know what x is, we're basically going to have to solve this. Well, it's a quadratic equation because its highest exponent is a 2. So this particular test that we're going to take tomorrow says to solve quadratic equations by factoring or completing the square. Well, if I complete the square to get a new b term, I'm going to have to put 11 over 2 and square it, and that's a fraction, and that just doesn't appeal to me. So I think I'm going to try factoring it. Maybe that'll work. So in order to factor it, I have to put it in standard form first. Well, there's my ax squared, there's my bx. I need my c over here. So I'm going to add 30 to both sides to get my c over here with my a and my b terms. So now I have x squared plus 11x plus 30 equals, and if these cancel out, that's 0. Now I have a quadratic equation. It's in standard form, and y equals 0. So now I'm going to start my steps to factor it. So I'm going to look and see if there's a GCF, and I do not see one. So then I'm going to look for special cases, which would be either a PST. Well, this is not a PST. 30 is not a square number, and it's not dots because dots is always a binomial, and this is a trinomial, so it's not a special case. Step 3, I'm going to look at my a value. Since a is 1, I'm going to use regular old X-man. A times c is this times this, which is 30, and b is your middle term, which is 11. So what numbers multiply to equal 30 and combine to equal 11? I think those numbers are 6 and 5. So my factorization would be x plus 6 times x plus 5, and it still equals 0. Even though we factored it, these are still equal. And then I'm going to use the zero product property and set every factor containing a variable equal to 0. If I subtract 6 from both sides, I get x equals negative 6. If I subtract 5 from both sides, I get x equals negative 5. And if you look at the answers I gave you today, I think you're going to notice, oh, which of the following? It's going to either be negative 6 or negative 5. Well, I see negative 6 there, so that's my answer. Number 1 is A. Number 2, the sum of x squared and x squared and x, their sum means I'm going to add them together, is, in math, is means equals 56. Which of the following could be the value of x? Well, once again, I'm going to try and factor this little guy. So I'm going to get this in standard form by getting my a, b, and c terms on one side. And then I'm going to factor it. There's no GCF. It's not a PST. It's not dots. A is 1, so I'm going to use plain old X-man. A times C is negative 56, and B is positive 1. And I know that 7 times 8 is 56. I think I can make this work. One of these has to be negative to make this negative 56, and I need extra positives, so I'm going to keep the 8 positive and make the 7 negative. So if I multiply these, I get negative 56. If I combine them, I get 1. So my factors look like this: x minus 7, x plus 8 still equals 0. Set each factor containing a variable equal to 0. Isolate the variable. And there are your two solutions, two x-intercepts. And it says which of the following could be a value of x. We have negative 7 and negative 8. Oh, look what I did. I made a boo-boo. I should have added 7 here instead of subtracting 7, because that would make those cancel out. So my answers are positive 7 and negative 8. So that's why A would be your answer for number 2. Okay, number 3. What are the solutions for the quadratic equation x squared plus 11x equals negative 18? I'm going to factor it. So I want it in standard form. So I'm going to add 18 to both sides so that my A, B, and C terms are all on the same side. X squared plus 11x plus 18 equals, if these cancel out completely, that's 0. So it's in standard form. Y is 0. Factor, no GCF, not a PST, not dots. A is 1. A times C is 18. B is 11. 18 is 9 times 2, and 9 plus 2 is 11. X plus 9 equals 0. Oh, I forgot to factor. X plus 9 equals 0. X plus 2 equals 0. Isolate your variable. Okay. I'm going to skip a couple of these. I'm going to look at number 8. I'm going to factor this. So it's in standard form. Y is 0. I'm going to factor it. There's no GCF. 2x squared is not a square number because 2 is not a square number, so it's not a PST. It's not dots because it's not a binomial, so I'm going to factor it. But A is 2, so I have to use extra X-man. So A times C, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. My B term is 7. Let's see. 8 is 6 times 2. I don't think that's going to work, but 8 is also 8 times 1. So if I put an 8 and a 1, one of them has to be negative, but I need extra positives left over, so I'm going to make my 1 negative. 8 times negative 1 is negative 8, and 8 positives and 1 negative leaves me with 7 positives. Now it's extra X-man, so I have an extra step. My first term goes here. My first term is 2x squared. My last term, negative 4, goes here. And my 8 goes here. My negative 1 goes here. And I add an x to both of those. If you put 8x here and negative 1x here, it would still work. My GCF here is x. My GCF here is 4. My GCF here is 2x, and my GCF here is 1, and it's probably a negative 1 since these are both negative, but let's double check. This times this is this. This times this is 8x. X times negative 1 is negative 1x, and negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. We have successfully factored this, and my factors are here and here. 2x minus 1 times x plus 4 equals 0. Set each factor containing a variable equal to 0. Be careful here. You're going to isolate the variable. In this particular equation, it's 2 steps. First, you have to get 2x alone, so you have to get rid of -1 by adding its inverse. And